Gordy here. Happy Sunday. Here we are bringing you another sermon in our summer hit series where we've been going through the parables of Jesus and just going through the story and what they mean and the point Jesus was trying to get across. And so today, as we dive into our next parable in the summer hit series, let me ask you a question. Do you guys know or have experienced that feeling that you get when you've maybe won at something that you worked really hard to win at, or maybe you've succeeded at a sport that you've practiced a lot, or an instrument, or a game, or something? You know that feeling that you get when you know you've succeeded at something? Hopefully at some point in your life you have succeeded at something and you know the feeling I'm talking about. But then on top of that feeling, not only do you get this great feeling you've succeeded at something, but there's also a feeling on top of that when you know that you're just really good and you maybe have destroyed the competition, or you are just head and shoulders above the rest. And you know without a doubt, even before the competition starts or before what happens, that you're going to succeed, and you're going to win, and it's going to be the greatest feeling in the world. A lot of us know that feeling. It's a pretty amazing feeling, right? It's a feeling that we all love, we all want to get it. Just the feeling of knowing that you're the best, the feeling of knowing that you're in control, the feeling of knowing that what you wanted to happen happened. All right, it's this feeling of, and I don't know what it is for you. Maybe it is your sports team that you're really good and you win all the time. Maybe it is you're really smart and every time a big test comes or something, you know you got it. You're going to ace it. Maybe it's just in the way you make friends and your popularity, and you go, yeah, I got it. I'm good at this. I know how to make friends. I know how to win people over to my side. Maybe it's with your musical abilities. Whatever it is for you, that feeling of knowing you're going to succeed, you've got it, you have it figured out, you are good at whatever it is that's happening. That's a pretty great feeling. The best way to describe this feeling for me, and it's a fun example that a lot of you will understand, but at Whitewater, our summer camp that we normally do when there's not a pandemic going on, we go whitewater rafting on the Klamath River, and it's pretty amazing. And if you've been, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But my favorite part of whitewater rafting on the Klamath River is what is called raft battles, okay? And what raft battles are is you're out on the river and you're having fun, you're going through rapids, and we'll hit a stretch of river that is flat and it's calm and there's no rapids and it's deep and you can just swim and you can have fun for a good portion of the river. And so what raft battles are is you go up to another raft and you jump aboard and you try to pull people out, you try to chuck them into the water, and it's just madness and chaos, and it's the best part of the whole rafting trip, okay? And so for me, as an adult, going with the junior hires, okay, the most successful, succeeding feeling for me is, especially after driving 2 days in the car with them, and you guys being just typical junior hires, okay, and getting on my nerves a little bit, all right, getting to that moment where I see the flat stretch of water and I see the approaching raft, and I can just jump in and just clear a raft and take junior hires and chuck them into the water. It's the greatest feeling in the world, okay, because as an adult going in and just seeing all the sixth graders lined up perfectly where I can chuck you out if you're small enough two at a time, and it's amazing because I feel like a superhero. I feel like the coolest guy in the world. And now if you're one of those that's had that happen to you, you're like, no, Gordy, it's not the coolest feeling in the world. It's absolutely terrible. And if I ever grow up and become a leader, I'm going to get my revenge on you. And, you probably will. That's fair. But that feeling of going, I am in complete control and I'm in complete charge and I can just chuck you into the water if I want. It's a great, amazing feeling. And the problem is, we live in a world that says that feeling is what you should shoot for. That feeling is what you should go for. Everything you do should be revolved around this idea of how do I succeed? How do I get what I want? How do I have success? How do I beat other people? How do I promote myself further than the rest of the people around me? And it's not necessarily that thing is bad in and of itself. It's that when that becomes our focus and that becomes our attention and that's all that there is for us, that's when it becomes an issue. That's when it becomes a problem. And in the parable today, that's what Jesus touches on, okay? So open up your Bibles to Luke chapter 12. Luke chapter 12, we will start in verse 13. Luke chapter 12, verse 13. And just in your brains, think of that idea of whenever you have been at home and you have thought, how do I become the best at this? Or how do I get to the point where I have what I want, or do I have enough money, or do I have enough popularity, or do I have enough followers on social media? How do I get to that point? And you stay up night and day and you think about it and you go, and when you don't succeed and when you fail and when you don't reach that popularity that you wanted or you don't reach that success that you wanted, and it breaks your heart and you get down and you get depressed, how do you get beyond that? How do you get past that? How do you not make that the make or break thing in your life? This is what the parable says in verse 13 of Luke chapter 12. It says, someone in the crowd said to Jesus, "Teacher, tell my brother to divide the inheritance with me." So it's a question that, if you have siblings, you're well aware of, okay? It's a question that every sibling says to their parents at some point in their life. They go, "Mom or Dad, so-and-so is not sharing with me." Okay? Classic sibling complaint. Okay, imagine Jesus is this big famous teacher right now. Everybody's talking about Jesus, the guy who does miracles, the guy who teaches in parables. Okay, and in the crowd, we have two brothers who are having a disagreement, a discrepancy, okay, over the inheritance and who gets what, right? So I bet what goes through this brother's brain is in this moment he sees Jesus and he goes, this is the perfect solution to my problem. If Jesus tells my brother in front of a giant crowd to share the inheritance with me, my brother will have no choice. Basically, I got him stuck. This is the prime situation. It's like why as siblings, when your parents, there you go, I'm going to bring up this issue in front of my parents because my sibling can't do anything about it. You have to respect what the parents say, okay? If my mom says I have to share, all right, I'm going to have to share. Likewise, if they say my sibling has to share, they're going to have to share. This is perfect. And so the brother goes, I got him stuck. I'm going to ask Jesus, and Jesus, being a good moral teacher he is, of course, is going to say, yeah, share, of course, you got it. My brother's going to have to do it, okay? And so he asks, tell my brother to share my inheritance with me. Verse 14. But Jesus said to him, man, who made me a judge or arbitrator over you? He said, take care and be on your guard against all covetousness, and for one's life do not consist in the abundance of possessions. So this man does not get the response he wants at all. Jesus instead turns to him and basically says, who made me in charge of you? Like, I'm not your parents, not your mom, figure out your own issues. Kind of what he says. He says, who made me a judge or arbitrator over you? Basically saying, why do I have to decide? Figure out your issue. Okay, and then he said, take care and be on guard against all covetousness, for one's life does not consist in abundance of possessions. And now we get to the real important moral of the story today. Jesus goes one step further, not only to say, I'm not your judge, I'm not your arbitrator, figure out your own problem. And he goes, in fact, maybe you shouldn't even want your inheritance, because your life should not consist of an abundance of possessions. You should not covet things, okay? Maybe you should just let it go and let your brother have it, okay? And then he goes on to tell this parable. Verse 16. And he told him a parable, saying, the land of a rich man produced plentifully. And he thought to himself, what shall I do? For I have nowhere to store my crops. And he said, I will do this. I will tear down my barns, and I will build larger ones. And there I will store all my grain and all my goods. And I will say to my soul, soul, you have ample goods laid up for many years. Relax, eat, drink, and be merry. But God said to him, fool, this night your soul is required of you, and the things you have prepared, whose will they be? So is the one who lays up treasure for himself and is not rich toward God. And so in response, not only does Jesus say, figure out your problem for yourself, but he goes, in fact, let me give you a parable to teach you what I mean by this. And he says, there's a rich man, and he's growing crops, and his harvest is plentiful, meaning he's got a ton of it. It worked out well for him. Okay? It's so much so that he doesn't even have enough room in his barns that he currently has to store all his crops, so he has to build new ones for himself, bigger ones, grander ones, because his harvest is so plentiful. Okay? And it says, after he's done this, he says to himself, you have ample goods. Like, your life is set for many years. You have won the lottery, all right? You sit back, eat, drink, be merry, enjoy your life. And then God says, fool, this night your soul is required of you. The things you have prepared, whose will they be? Meaning when you die and it's done, who's going to get your stuff? You don't get to take it with you. And the bottom line in verse 21, he says, those who lay up treasure for themselves are not rich toward God. And so, like I said, the purpose and parable of this is don't focus too much on the success part. Don't focus too much on the riches part of your life. Don't focus too much on succeeding at the thing that you really desire, the thing you really want. And yet the natural question of this is, well, is it wrong to succeed? Like, why does God call this guy a fool for being rich? Is it bad to be rich? Like, what's wrong with that? Was it wrong for this guy to have a good harvest? No. The point and purpose of this parable is to not say don't be rich, don't have success, don't have a good harvest. Okay, don't relax and enjoy your riches and what you've made. That's not the purpose. That's not the point. The problem that is trying to be made here is what this guy sees in the story is he thinks his riches are enough. He thinks his success is enough. He goes, I have enough to make myself happy. Let me eat, drink, relax, and be merry the rest of my life. At no point does he thank God for what he has. At no point does he say, let me figure out how to use this to bless God, to give back to God, to further his kingdom. All he thinks about is himself. He goes, I have enough. My life is going to be happy now. Me. How can I serve myself? How can I focus on what I have? How can I make this life amazing? And Jesus goes, when your life is over, all that stuff ends. It doesn't come with you. In a way, it's like false advertisement, all right? We live in a world that is filled with false advertisement, okay? Every commercial you watch on TV, every ad you see is that company, that business, that organization going, how can I make my product look so good that people cannot resist buying it? And so what they do is they make advertisements that aren't true. Okay, an example of this, great example, Old Spice. Okay, Old Spice is an amazing deodorant company. Okay, great deodorant, fantastic, and the commercials are wildly entertaining. You gotta love Old Spice. But when you watch an Old Spice commercial, what you see is this very buff, attractive man. Okay, and most of the time he's like riding backwards on a horse, curling 100-pound dumbbells. All right, looking amazing. Okay. And what this guy says in the commercial is, he goes, does your man look like me? No. Can he smell like me? Yes. Okay? Meaning, if you get Old Spice, you're not going to become the really attractive buff guy in the commercial, okay? But you can smell like him. Okay, so everybody goes to the store and you go down the Old Spice aisle with all the deodorants, and it's pretty fun because you get to smell like all 80 different kinds, all right, and make your choice, and they all have fun names. Okay, but when I buy an Old Spice thing and I come home and I put it on, my life doesn't turn into an Old Spice commercial, unfortunately, because that would be pretty cool. All right, but nothing about me changes other than the fact that I don't smell terrible anymore. All right, nothing. It's false advertisement. Okay, the Old Spice goes, let me create this really entertaining commercial that's going to draw guys in and want them to buy our deodorant, but it doesn't actually change anything about them. The commercial doesn't actually portray what's really going to happen when you wear Old Spice. It's false advertisement. And our world is filled with it. And what the world says for you is, if you can be good enough at your sport, that's going to fulfill you. That's going to make you happy forever. If you can get rich enough, if you can make enough money, that's going to fulfill you. That's going to make you happy forever. And if you can get enough people to like you, that's going to fulfill you. That's going to make you happy forever. If you can get that girl or guy that you have a giant crush on to like you and want to date you, that's going to fulfill you and make you happy forever. If you can get enough people to comment on your posts and your pictures and the things that you do on TikTok and on Instagram and Snapchat and say, man, you look so good. Man, I want to be just like you. If you can get enough to say that, then that's going to fulfill you and make you happy forever. Fact of the matter is that's false advertisement. That's not true. The mistake this man makes in the story is thinking what he has, his harvest, is enough. And you know, well, I don't really understand farming. Well, in today's worlds, think of the social media influencers, the people that are super famous on TikTok or YouTube or Instagram, okay? They live post by post, right? Okay, they got viral on one video or whatever, one really great, super talented TikTok dance, okay? I now speak that from experience because I now realize how hard TikTok dances are, okay? But one viral video does not make them famous and set forever, right? Once they get viral with one video, sure, they can ride that wave for a little while. Sure, people are going to remember them from that one video, but what do they have to do now? They have to keep going. And maybe they have a bigger platform, but they have to keep making videos. They have to keep that audience engaged and focused on what they're doing. Post after post after post, they have to keep it going. And it would be naive to think that just that's going to make them happy and rich forever. Eventually, the harvest runs out. Eventually, the attention wears away. Eventually, you're not as happy and successful as you once were. And the point Jesus makes is when you focus all of your riches on yourself, where does it go when it's over with? Those riches go to somebody else. That success goes to somebody else. That fame goes to somebody else. That popularity goes to somebody else. In the terms of our culture today, think of the greatest athletes. They're retired. They're old. They're not great anymore. Think of the greatest musicians. I mean, some musicians play and sound great until they're really old, but eventually they get to the point where their voice can't sing anymore. They can't play the same level they used to. Okay, think of the most attractive, popular people in this world. You get old and wrinkled, you're no longer attractive and popular. That's the way life works. And so what Jesus is saying, don't focus all of that on coveting and possessions and the things you have, because it's not going to be enough forever. And he keeps saying this on, the parable's over, but he says more. In verse 22, he says, and he said to his disciples, therefore I tell you, do not be anxious about your life, what you will eat, nor about your body and what you will put in it. For life is more than food, and the body more than clothing. Consider the ravens, they neither sow nor they reap, they neither have storehouses nor barn, and yet God feeds them. Of how much more value are you than the birds? And which of you being anxious can add a single hour to his lifespan? And then if you are not able to do as small a thing as that, why are you anxious about the rest? What he's saying is not only does he give this parable about, hey, don't covet, don't desire possessions, but he goes on to say, here's why. He says, why are you anxious? Why are you worried? I will take care of you. Am I not enough? He says, look at the ravens, look at the birds, okay? They fly around worried about their popularity, worried about how rich they are. No, they take one day at a time, they feed themselves, feed their kids, and they repeat the cycle. But stop being anxious, okay? Does being anxious ever add any time to your lifespan? By worrying about what's going to happen tomorrow, by worrying about what's next, by worrying about 10 years down the road, does that ever add a single hour to your life? No, it doesn't. It doesn't. Okay, there's no difference between a poor person or a rich person in the end. They end up in the same spot. Okay? They end up in a grave somewhere, and it's a really depressing thing to say, but it's the fact of the matter. Is their life may look different, but once that's over, they're in the same spot again. And so what he's saying is, don't worry, I'm enough. Don't be anxious, I'm enough. And for us, the reason that riches are dangerous, the reason that possessions are dangerous, because it's what you're communicating to God is, God, you're not enough to fulfill me. God, you're not enough to make me happy. God, you are not enough. I don't trust you enough. I need to be anxious about what I have. I need to be anxious about what's to come. I need to be anxious about the future and the things I have and all of that, because God, you're not enough. I don't trust you enough with my life. I need money to make sure my life is good. I don't trust you enough with my life. I need popularity to make sure my life is good. And don't get me wrong, that stuff is not bad. I'm not saying don't try to have friends. I'm not saying don't try to get rich. Don't try to have success. It's just when you put all of your money and your marbles in that basket and you go, I'm all in, that's when it's dangerous. Because when you go all in and it fails, then you're left with nothing. Push for those things and try to have success, try to follow your dreams, but have God there walking in step with you, that when you fail, he's there to catch you instead of falling alone. Realize that God is all you need to be enough. And the other stuff, that's bonus. That's just using the gifts and the opportunities and the abilities God has given you. But you still have God as that parachute to hold you up, to keep you safe, to keep living life with. even when things don't work out, even when you don't have those moments where you feel like you're on top of the world, where you feel like you've had success, because that feeling is addicting, but that feeling doesn't last. Knowing that God loves you and trusts you and is walking with you, that feeling does last. And eternity in heaven with God does last. That's what we need to hold on to. It's not easy, and it's hard, but it's the greatest choice you can ever make. I hope that you understand that. I hope that brings you encouragement, and I hope whatever it is that you're wrestling with, whatever it is that's bothering you because you haven't been able to succeed at it yet, because you haven't been able to feel like it's enough yet, because you're still trying to get there, whether it's popularity, success in sports, success in whatever it is that you desire with everything inside of you. Know that even when you fail at that, if you trust in God, that's enough. He says, don't be anxious. I have a plan for you. Just walk alongside with me, and everything else will follow suit. Hope that brings you encouragement. Have a great Sunday, guys. Miss you. See you soon.